Reason, Reason 12, Reason 8, Reason 13. It's pretty much all the same. Right now we're using Reason 12. First, when you start a new session, this is going to pop up. It'll look like this. And over here, as you can see, I have some folders already, and that's because I put them there so I didn't have to go searching in here every single time for everything, but I'll show you how to do that. So what I have is sessions over here to the left, so I can just click on my sessions and go to them whenever I need to. Drum kits when I need to add drums. Patches, some that I made, some that I really liked. So let's say you're working on an instrument. Let's see, this patch for, let's say this. I can hit the save patch button, and then I actually have a folder on my desktop called Reason. As you can see, desktop Reason. So I have all these folders made already. Okay, so I have my patches folder right here. I'll go ahead and make the folder first, obviously, and then add the patch, change the name if I need to, save it, and then once I have that, I can go, let's see here. Alright, look, when this is highlighted orange, anything you're using, it'll keep you from suggesting certain formats or file types and things like that. So you want to just click away from it so the orange highlight goes away, and then you can go ahead and, you know, go back, go to your desktop any day now. So I've got some stuff running in the background here, and then go to Reason, go to the patches. So you don't have to do that every single time. What I did is I'll take it and I'll drag it over here to the left, so that way I have, you know, everything there. My sessions, drag it to the left. Anything that I really use most of the time. So yeah. All right, now that that's out the way, what you want to do is go to Edit, Preferences, and when you have all your drum kits set up, those are obviously done from this end. But when you have your VSTs, VST2s and 3s, and you want Reason to go ahead and look that up for you every time you open, the only way it's going to find it is if you go to folders. And as you can see, I have all these folders here set up so that way Reason can go ahead and look for these VSTs, so that way they can show up in my instruments or my effects, depending on what it is. And I kind of went a little crazy and just double check different locations, because I have some plugins here and there, and I just added it. So what I'll do is I'll go to add, I'll find the location of a folder that has VSTs in it, and I'll click it, I'll hit OK, it'll save here, and the next time you open Reason, it'll go ahead and load it up for you. So if you do this right now first, and you don't see anything still, then the reason is because Reason needs to restart. Okay, so over here we have audio. If you're not getting any sound, you want to check this. Audio. Okay, I'm not going to touch anything. Just select your audio. If you're using a MIDI device, right, keyboard, what you want to do is go to, where is this? I think it's here, MIDI. Yeah, there we go. MIDI, you want to auto detect surfaces. It'll do it for you while your MIDI controller is plugged in at the same time, of course. If that doesn't work, then you could also add manually. It'll show you different brands. You'll select the brand. And for instance, I'm using a Nectar. It already knows that's what I'm using. There's different models for different things. You'll select it, add it, rename it if you want, and that's it. Okay, so those are pretty much the basic things here. The sample rate, you know how that works, depending on what you're doing. Even if you're recording in here, you might want to change your sample rate so you don't have any latency. But let's get out of this. Okay, now that that's done, I'm going to click on this. I'm going to press the delete button, or I can just press delete devices and tracks. And I'm going to just press delete. And I'm going to delete either all in group. What that means is that, let's say I have added a reverb to this instrument or something, or anything else, and I don't want to delete those things, which would make no sense for me not to in the first place if I'm getting rid of this. But if you wanted to keep them, then you would delete selected only, which is this. Delete all in group is everything attached to it. And what I mean by attached is that you can flip this around by pressing the tab key. When you press tab, you'll see you can go back and forth. And what this is if you click this arrow, you can see that it's actually like there's hardware in your computer sitting there for you to go ahead and rewire, which is one of the main reasons why I use Reason, because there's a lot of things you can do in here with this alone, with rewiring. So let's say I added, okay, so here, instruments are right here. These are all your sounds. Reason comes with a lot of stock sounds right here. As you can see, let's say I wanted pads, over pads. You can just go through them, select it, whatever you want. And when you select it, you'll drag it to wherever you want. Now this is an actual rack for hardware. This little window right here in the middle. So you see how the arrow points? That means I can add it on this side of the rack, or I can add a new one if, okay, first there has to be an instrument here in order for there to be another one right here. You can either add device here or just drag it. I like to drag it. It's a lot easier for me. So we'll drag it under every single time just to add another instrument. Let's say I want to put it here. What I like to do is I like to put my drums over here on the left, and then I'll go ahead and I'll put, like, you know, some sounds here. I'll put like bass here, and then I'll, you know, and so on. And when you get this area to be a lot fuller, you'll be able to just take this little corner here and just drag it all the way down whenever you do have a lot of instruments. You can drag this. This is our mixer, by the way. So this is what I do. I usually keep everything open, all 3 different sections, including this left section. And when I want to get to something like the mixer, I'll press F5, and the mixer will pull up. When it gets full, it'll obviously be all over here. I'll press F5 again if I want to go back to the third. All three. F5, F5, or I can press F6 and I can go to my instruments. Let's turn this back around with tab. Or I can go F7. F7 is my sequencer. And this is where the magic happens, the creativity. And for now, we'll just press F7 again. F8 brings up quantizing, note velocity, and pitch. We'll get into that another time. There's different ways we can utilize that a lot easier. So all right, so remember, these are where the instruments are. If you scroll down, all right, all the ones that have pictures are from Reason. All the ones that do not have pictures are from different companies. So as you can see, I have a lot of different companies with a lot of instruments. So let's say I wanted to use something from Spectrasonics or something like Omnisphere. I would just click this, hold it down, drag it to wherever I wanted it. Omnisphere and Serum are a lot bigger. They're a pretty heavy load, so when you put these VSTs in here, you want to do everything slowly. You don't want to be like drag and dropping, because it will overload and it'll freeze, you'll lose everything. So be very careful with that. A lot of other instruments are not so big, so you don't have to worry about that. But Omnisphere and Serum are very, very big. Okay, so these are your effects. Click effects. I have so many, that's why it takes so long. These are the Reason effects, and these are all of my other effects from different companies. With effects, if I wanted to use an effect, I could either search for it here and it'll pop up. Let's say I wanted something from CLA, those will pop up. I'll go ahead and take this compressor and I'll drag it stereo version, not mono, depending on what I'm doing. I'll drag it on top of, literally right here, not below, on top of whatever I want it on. It'll go ahead and load in. And just to be sure, you can see it is connected to the track itself. It's all connected. So we can open it up, mess around with it to the way you want. Okay, so I'm glad this happened. So it's not connecting for this reason, which I think this used to happen to me a lot, and I think because I'm doing this tutorial for you, I'm doing it a little bit differently than I usually do. So I'm going to show you the way that I do it, so that way you don't have to go ahead and rewire everything. So let's go ahead and Control Z so we can get rid of it. What I usually do when I want an effect is I'll either click down here on the sequencer on the instrument, mostly on this instrument here, and I'll just go to effects, or I can do it here. Click on the instrument, effects, and usually what I'm doing last or a lot will be here, or I can go down here depending on what it is. There might be a lot, it might not all show. You might just want to know, like, want to get to something really quick. So I'll just press create effect on it. On the left, it'll open up. I can double click the effect myself, or I can just type it in again. And I'll go ahead and just double click it and it'll automatically add it. So now you can see it's actually connected properly. So when we push it, you can see. Okay, something weird is happening. Alright, let's do that again. Okay, so when you want to add effects, what we will do is, instead of dragging and dropping on top of the instrument that we want to do, we want to make sure that it's actually connected properly. So if you're dragging it on top or the middle or the bottom, it depends. It might not connect. So just to be sure, what I like to do is I like to right click on the instrument, either here, or you can see Erie Pad. The track is right here. I can right click here as well, either or. And let's say I want to like auto key or something. So I can see what key this is. It's listening. F major, okay. And that's how that's done. You'll know it's working when you see the meters working. So now with utilities, let's see. Utilities. All right, this is an audio track. You'll use this, you'll drag it in wherever you want your audio to be. Whenever you want to record audio, combinators are used for taking different effects and instruments and tweaking them, and then the combinator is what's holding everything together. That's a whole different thing. You can set it up, like you can change the controls. Pretty much you'll add everything in here to build your own instruments. Let's just put it that way. That's for another day. That's a lot. Yeah, this is the beginning, so let's not do that. Utilities. A line mixer. A line mixer is pretty much, it can be used for drums, something where you want to have everything built into one thing. If you want something bigger than a line mixer, you'll use this big mixer right here, and you'll go ahead and right click them and you'll add your instruments to it, or you can go to instruments. Let's say I want this here. I think it's below. Yeah, below. See, it automatically adds it to the first tracks and it names it for you. You can just let's see. I guess you can't rename it, huh? Alright. Well, we can rename it if we go ahead and save it as something else. You can go ahead and use all your pads in this one thing. It'll then have its own. All right, so this will be, let's see, this will be here, line mixer, and you'll be able to control all that, and then everything in it, within it. I don't really do that unless it's like drums or something, but even then I don't do that because you're kind of limited. So let's just move on. All right. Next channel. I don't really use this. I honestly don't even know what it really is, to be honest. Yeah. Pattern sequencer. This is a matrix pattern sequencer. This is obviously to make your own sequence. You'll add an instrument. You'll mess with it. I guess you can look at it as like Fruity Loops or something. You know how FL Studio had the little, you know, the little pattern sequencer in it. I think this is pretty much more like that. I don't use that, but you can make some cool stuff with it. Pulsar LFO, you know what an LFO is, right? Okay, so pretty much we'd add this to this. You see how this is pulsing? It's going to be pulsing that instrument. It's going to be taking all those frequencies and make it go in and out, in and out, in and out. Arpeggiator. Obviously you know what that is. A bunch of different notes just going around and around and around and around and around and around. Repetitively. Spider Audio Merger and Splitter. This you would use so that way you can, let's say you have a compressor, you would take the compressor, like if you want to sidechain something, you would use this splitter to go ahead and connect everything, and a lot more. We'll get into that another time. Players, beat map. The beat map is pretty much drums. This is a map showing you like, okay, if I click here, it's gonna do this. C piano. So that's supposed to be drums, used more for drums, like percussion and stuff like that. As you saw me doing this offbeats, there's different presets you can use, and when you move it around, it'll change it. Change it, change it, change it, change it, change it, change it. It's just something you gotta play with. So you'll just attach some drums to this. Let's see. Alright, first you need to know how to even add drums in the first place. Players, arpeggio, dual. So you know what this is. So add 3 notes, or 2 notes first. 3 notes. 4 notes. And you can change the velocity, the pattern, the steps, etc. The rate. That's really cool for like synthwave. That's what I use in a lot of synthwave stuff. whenever I hear a cool sound and it's not arpeggiated, I'll be like, you know what, we're gonna turn it into that in the first place. And obviously on the side you'll see presets, so when you have it open, you'll be able to drag it on top of it and open those presets. Alright, one of my faves here is scales and chords. So the way we do this is we'll go to instruments. We'll go to, let's say, some piano or something. So let's say we're trying to like write a song or something and we're like, damn, I don't know where to start. Or let's say that we're trying to keep something the same key as something and just kind of find our way into where we can utilize a different instrument into the song, but we know the key of the song. Or if you're writing a song for somebody, this will be perfect. So you either drag it or right click, like I like to. See, I can never figure out if it's on top or bottom. I think it's bottom. Let's see. Yeah, it seems right. Alright. And you can change the key here. So let's say we wanted F, and then we wanted minor. There's a bunch of different ones. It's pretty cool. You press one key, you can see the keys over here that it's going to allow you to use. That's the scale. So alright, and then if we want more notes, and then we can add more notes, but I don't think you're going to need all that. What I like to do sometimes, depending on what it is, maybe it's a pad, and I really like the low end, but I also like the high end too, but I don't want too much of either or. I'll just do open chords. And what that does, you can see, is it broadens the notes instead of this. Or we can do octave up. Or we can do octave down. Or we can add some color to it, which means a different note, just adding some funk. Or we can alternate it. The way you would use this is you would automate it. You're pretty much able to automate anything in here. So you can automate the pitch, right? Automate the modulation. You can automate anything. Let's say I wanted it totally silent at one point of the song after the piano was done playing. I would automate this, you know what I mean? Or I wanted to solo it without having to go ahead and remove all the other instruments and stuff like that. Just go ahead and solo it and do it, you know, easily. You're capable of doing anything. So those are scales and chords. Now, let's go ahead and show you how to create an instrument. All right. So, you saw your mixer, you saw the rack, the sequencer. So what I like to do, by the way, just move this over here. You have the N, set that up. You have the master compressor, dynamics, EQ, instrument, effects, and then the tracks on the fader itself. And over here you have a lot of reverb, so that way you can go ahead and add it to say I wanted to do a send copy the instrument first. All right. Let's go to, I was like, where is, okay, let me go to, I guess we'll do atmosphere. Let me show you how to do atmosphere really quick, very sketchy. So when atmosphere opens, you want to press open. It's gonna show this first. You gotta wait. Yeah, it acts crazy sometimes. You just gotta let it go. Don't push anything. It'll be fine. Let's try this again. Open it. Now we can see it looks like this. You'll just click anywhere and it'll open up. You can either do it through this view, or I like to use this view. I'll click that little bubble that was over there before. If I want to go back, I'll X this out. And I'll go to a pad. I'll drag down. When I'm going through them, I'm not going to go crazy, and you know, I can either go like this. It's going to play a little snippet of the instrument and how it sounds. I can either hit the arrows to go up, but one by one. Don't go crazy and go shooting all the way up, because it will freeze. I like to click. And if I like this, if I like the instrument, I'll go ahead and 5-star it. I think it's okay. Give it a little bit lower of a rating. That sounds cool. I'll X this out. And what I like to do, all right, my major keys here are this. Let's see. The most important things you want to do is remember to, after everything you do, hit Control S so it saves. There's no automatic save, so if it crashes, you'll lose everything. And it happens sometimes, unless you press save. So I will press Control S, and I already have my Reason folder here, Reason sessions set, so I'll save it here. It'll look like one of these. I also have them in different folders, so let's just leave it here, I guess, and we'll just call it Toot. I also like to add the beats per minute. So if it's 120, 120, you know what I mean? That's just the thing I do. You can do something else, whatever you want. We'll save it. Now I don't have to worry about it if anything happens. So we have our instrument. The other hotkeys that you want to remember is Control E. Now Control E opens our little piano roll right here. Press it back and forth because we're going to be doing that a lot. A lot of that. A lot of copying and pasting and other things. So we'll do that. We like that instrument. We have that set up. I want to add some drums. What I'll do is I'll go to instruments. You can either add a drum kit VST in here, or if you want single drums, which is what I like to do. I like to have them on their own separate track. I will most of the time either mess with this drum machine or a redrum. Mostly redrum. I like my drums over here. I'll just drag it over here. Now I have a redrum. It shows there's different kits. I don't really like to use their kits anymore, though they do have a lot of great kits. You can check them out. What I like to do is I'll put everything back to 0, the levels all the way up, exactly like that, this first track. If I want more than one instrument on this whole thing, I'll do it to the rest of them. But I don't like that because it takes forever. So I made a patch. So I took this instrument, I fixed them all the way I wanted, so that way I can just bring it in whenever I want to, and I saved it like I showed you before. And I saved it in my patches, redrum, just like this. And it's pretty much to initialize the patch. I already saved it that way, this one right here. So I'm just going to go to my patches, my redrum, and I'm gonna drag that patch on top of it. And it just took everything back and reset it. So now I will go ahead and duplicate, and then I'll you know what, I don't like this color. You know, let's change the color first. Track color, I do mine usually gray all the time. Gray. And then I will duplicate again, duplicate again, duplicate again, and then I'll double click it, kick, snare, hats, perks, other, change the name later whenever I figure it out. So I'll go to my kick, everything changed here on the mixer. Go to my kick, I'll click this load or browse sample button. While it's highlighted, it knows what it's looking for, and it knows that I go to my drum kits a lot, my drum kits folder, so it opens it automatically, or I can just open it myself. And I'll go ahead and open these folders. So I find the kick I want, I'll click it once, and then I'll just use the arrow keys to go down. And it changes it every time. It doesn't change it if I go like this and click. Click. It only changes it in here if I use the arrow keys. Or let's say I wasn't too sure and I wanted to just kind of check them out, I'll just play it by spacebar. Alright, Control E. Let's just go ahead and, alright, I will draw just one. Control E, and now I have my grid with my kick. Let's just do something very simple. I'll Control C, copy it, Control V, Control V, Control V, and now it's here in my loop. These are my loop markers, so I can move them wherever I need to, wherever I want to loop them. And I'll press the space bar. As you can see up here, it's peaking a little bit, so I will just put it down a little bit. And that's usually where I'll keep everything set at. Let's say I don't want this metronome anymore. Right here, clicking, which is right here. I'll click it, turn it off. If I don't want it to loop, I'll click that, the loop is off. But I like to leave them looped. I'll go back, and the way you go back, let's say you don't want to click, you want to hit Shift Enter, and it goes back every time. Shift Enter, and then spacebar to play it. Control E to go from here into here. You can use Q or W or E for the eraser, R for the razor, etc. I don't really use any of these. I just use these for, well, actually I don't even use the eraser, honestly. I'll just, if if I don't want this here, I'll just click it and I'll press delete. Or I can just double click it and it'll go away. Alright, so W, draw, Q for the arrow, Control E, go back. Now we have that, we'll just keep that playing. Now we want a snare. Let's see, I just added a bunch of new ones, but I don't know what the names were because there's so damn many. Sheesh. Alright, I don't know if you can hear that. Can you hear that little click thing right there? You hear it after the kick hits every time? Like it's being clipped off, like it wasn't faded out properly whenever they made this drum kit. When that happens, I'll take the length down a little bit. It's still there, man. It's gone now, but it pretty much just ruined it. If you really want it, if you really want that kick that bad and that happens, you can always just click this and turn everything into a WAV file. So let's say bounce in place. Whatever is highlighted, it'll bounce that in place as a WAV file. So now I can just go in and edit it, right? I'll edit it. I will take this right here, zoom in. Something going on like right here somewhere, or I think it's this. And I'll just go ahead and chop it off, right? Take the snap off because it might just snap to whatever is aligned on every bar, or we can change here. But I keep it on bar unless I'm in here. Sorry, unless I'm in here. I keep it on 116. So let's say I really want this kick. I'll take this blade, I'll turn the snap off so that way I can put it wherever I want. I can chop it off wherever. I'm gonna chop it off here. I'm gonna click this, put that over there. We're not gonna use that. I'll take this and okay. I'll go ahead and fade it like right here. So now I can easily just use that only, sorry, I can only use that. I'll mute this since this is the only track that's playing. I'll bounce it out. So I'll drag this open all the way wide. This E here is for the end of the song. Since we're not all the way over there yet, we'll bring it back over here because we want it to end wherever we are wanting this kick to bounce out at. So we could import it in again and use it without that little, you know, distortion at the end of it. And I'll just put it right here. And now whatever's from the beginning to this E is going to bounce out from that point. I'll go to File. I'll export the song as audio. I can do an MP3, an IFF, or a WAV. For this kick, we're going to keep WAV. And what I'm going to want to do, I remember this was an Afro beat kit. So let me just see, since we're going to replace it, I'll click this where my kick is. And it was kick 1. Okay, so we're gonna replace kick 1, or just maybe add a different name. I don't know, we'll see. And I'm gonna bounce that out, exports. It was in my Reason folder. And drum kits, Afrobeat. Let's see, this one, kicks, and then I'll click this, save it on top of it, replace it, yes please. And I always do 24, you can do 16 if you want, but, and now that's there. So, as you can hear it over here, just refresh it, we'll drag it. Now it's gone. Okay. That's a good one. So that's pretty much how you do that. I know I got off topic here, but just make this a little bit more visible now. Okay. I'll move this back again, get rid of that. I actually put the snap back on as well. Don't want to forget that. These fucking idiots upstairs, bro. They just want to die. One day. Alright. I'll delete this, I'll unmute it, get back to it. I'll copy this and paste it since we fixed it. So now it's good. There's no click at the end of it. You won't always go through that problem, but some people don't like to make drum kits properly. Alright. I'm gonna go to here. I'm gonna go to one shots. I'm gonna go to snares. And I wanna make a snare here. So instead of even pressing this, I'll just go here. Like this. I'm just gonna drag this on my snare here. And I like to use a separate redrum unless I'm using like perks or fucking hi-hats, like a bunch of different ones or a bunch of different bongos or toms. I'll add them all in one, you know what I mean? Well, we're gonna use that, and then we're gonna use the pencil tool. Just gonna make something simple again. I already know it's here. Copy and paste it. Shift, return, or enter. And then let's say I have all my drums here. I want to just say, you know what? I need to make this and this the same. Instead of looking for the number, the level, and searching for it and trying to get it right, I just click one, shift, hold shift down, click the other one. Now they're both highlighted. Like this, snare, and I'll just bring them down. They all move together. That's the easy way. I'll just click away from it. Actually, they're not peaking, so it's good. As I was saying earlier, if I wanted to add some, let's see, F7, nope, wrong one, F5. If I wanted to add some reverb, I could either drag a reverb that I want specifically and mess with it, or the ones here. I can also add another effect into one of these returns and use it as a send in the first place if I wanted to. Like, these are empty, or I can change these, but this is just the default. And if I want this snare here, I'll take the snare. So one is all first plate, This is for drums. So let's say drums, I guess. We'll click the number 2 because that's the one that we want. And the level is set at 20.04 decibels already. We can bring it up. Mess around with the other one. Yeah. Let's say I didn't want this snare to be so stereo. I'll take this width and I'll drag it down. And that will make it mono. I don't want to do that for this song, but there are songs that I've done that for, depending on what it was. I'll hit F5 again, or any key, twice, just to get back to the 3. So that's how you do your drums. Let's say we wanted bass or something. We'll go to instruments. It's hard keeping tabs on all these plugins. I'll put my bass over here. It's an ugly color. Right click it, track color. Go to presets, bass, synth, whatever you want. So now I got my bass. If we click it, you see how it's peaking. So we'll just bring it down. Usually that's where the bass is supposed to be. As long as your drums aren't peaking and it's like right before it peaks, it's good. And you just do the same thing with the bass. Beat sucks. Alright, let's go back to Atmosphere and we'll right click it, go to players, we'll go to scales and chords. And I guess we'll do open chords. Alright, I like that, so I'm just gonna go ahead and stick with it. Simple. I can either just play it, right? So I'll go ahead and make this a little bit bigger. I'll copy, paste it. I'll bring the end back more. I will take the loop over here. And let's say I just want to play it. I'll press record. Let's say I didn't want it to start right away. I'll just go to pre and then record. Pretty much it. Didn't start on time. I kind of started late, so what I'll do is I'll just actually first I will right click it and I'll quantize it, and it will usually do it on time depending on how on time I was. Obviously it wasn't that much, so we'll just go in here, we'll get rid of the notes that were accidentally pressed because I'm not an expert. As you can see, the velocity the aftertouch, everything is there because you played it on the keyboard. So sometimes I will just play it this way, and I'll just add a compressor. If we use the sustain will be here at the bottom. You can also do things like this. We'll go back to it, right? Zoom in. We can, without editing the automation, which we can do that, but if we don't want to go that far, we can just, while we're recording, anything we touch on this MIDI controller is gonna happen. So if I touch the pitch, let's say, the pitch and the modulation, and I mess with it, record. And as you can see, this extra new automation that's going on is because we just did that. So now you can see there's pitch bend, aftertouch. If you can't see it that great, we can always zoom in. We can zoom into an infinite view if we want to. This is better, just doing it this way. We can also mess with it. We can take these dots, you can delete them. We can move them. We can add them with this. The modulation wheel. We can also do different types. If we hold this arrow down, draw multiple notes at the same time, which is a lot easier for curvy stuff. So yeah, messing with that can get you a lot of cool sounds. I just heard something in there that I didn't expect. It sounded kind of like an LFO was going on, but yeah, let's see. Single note. All right. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to draw it in. And paste it, but then again, you know what, I only want to work on a section at the same time. That's what I like to do, and then move on while I'm structuring the whole thing. That's a whole different thing we'll get into with blocks later. So now we have that set. Let's say I did the whole thing. I got the notes that I wanted. I needed to make some space by getting rid of omnisphere, because when you have 20 different omnispheres, it will get a little choppy. So a good thing to know is we will right click this and we can bounce it in place, or like to make room, obviously. So we can do that. Or if you wanted to actually see the notes, since we're using scales and chords on it, this is only because we're using that. While this is clicked, we will go here to scales and chords and press send to track, and it will send the MIDI notes through. This will be our original on the bottom, and this here will be our notes. So if you want to adjust anything, we can do that. And that's what I like to do most of the time. Alright, we're gonna get rid of this because I don't need that track anymore. Control S. We'll go to bass. That sound right. See, some bass just doesn't work with certain instruments. So when that happens, I just go pick a different one. They sound a little bit off, so we can just obviously tweak it because it probably sounds okay here. Whoa. It takes a minute to get used to it, figure it out. You'll figure it out. All right, what else? Let's see. Obviously, this is for zooming. I don't like to zoom that way. I just use these or these. Depending on where this is, it will zoom to that. If we have waves here, you can make them bigger or smaller here. This is our tempo. Let's say I wanted to change my tempo and I have something in my head and I'm like, okay, this is the beat, right? I'll just click it to that beat and it'll find it. Right? It'll just automatically do it, or I can just hold it and drag it to up and down to wherever I want. Take this pre-count off as well. I'm not using that. You could also change the beat. So let's say there's a you could change it from 4 to I think it's like what? Is it 3, 4? I think. Let's see. We'll only know if we put the click on. Yeah, that's it. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Obviously, this will have to be over here now. So yeah, that's how you change that. The loop is on. These are your play button, stop button. This is all the way back. If you push it, it'll just go back from bar to bar, depending on what you have it on. So let's go ahead and see how we can add things to the bass. Let's say we wanted a pulse effect, a sidechain. I would right click here or right click here, go to effects. I usually use Waves one knob pumper stereo because it's the easiest one. I used to have to pull out a merger and splitter and compressor and a redrum with a kick in it pushing down. Every time the kick pushed down on the compressor, it would turn the sound, like I would have to connect it to the sound. It's a lot. So this is the easiest way, is using a VST that does it for you. So I use one knob. So Waves will load one knob. We'll open one knob. And as you can see, they are attached. You can bypass it or on and off, so you can just kind of hear the difference. You can automate it as well, remember that. And one knob is now pumping. You can change the offset, which I like to do on hi-hats a lot. You can change the rate. 1/4 is usually standard. Drive me crazy. Okay, now look, this is important. Instead of opening an effect, an EQ on every single thing, just to make space, what I do for things that don't need like serious EQ or dynamic EQ or anything like that, I will just, let's say, Omnisphere, for instance, this pad here. As you can see, it's attached to Omnisphere. That's the channel it's on. So this channel track, which is this, you want to click this, and this opens a Spectrum EQ. So if you play it, you'll be able to see it. You see, we have all this unnecessary below 80 hertz going on. So I will take the high pass, click it. I usually like to just get rid of it to where I see it's just unnecessary. So about right there. If I want to do something more, I'll put EQ on. It doesn't give you that much. It's only what, like 4 or 5. So obviously you know how to work this here, the Q, the gain, the frequency, etc. But you can just drag it. isn't the Q. Huh. I've never really used these other than for high passing and low passing. I think it's like, crap. It's not that. E mode. Maybe it's E mode. Okay. You just gotta work with it. If you need to do something more serious where this is not good enough for you, then just I wanna add. I'm definitely not using this beat, but yeah. All right, there's so much more things that you could learn in here that I'm pretty sure I haven't even gotten to yet, but we'll get there. So let's see, you want to do something cool, like make an intro, you don't know what to do. This is what I do sometimes. Let's get rid of this first. I will take this, I'll copy like the first notes, right? Kind of cheating. Copy it, then I'll go back. I'll draw this little thing here. Wait, that might be kind of long. All right, we'll just do that. I'll click here and then I'll paste it. Now we have that. But what I want to do is like a reverse reverb kind of build up or something. I'll duplicate this, right? Actually, easier. We'll right click this. Wait, no. It's actually better to do it this way. So I'll duplicate Omnisphere. I will get rid of this one and this one because I only need this part. So I will take this, I'll drag it out. It's only going to play for this long, right? But I'll take a reverb on top of it, effects, and I'll go to something I use a lot, maybe like Supermassive or something. I'll go to like large, maybe massive. That might be a lot. I don't know. Let's see. This. That actually sounded kind of cool. So you know what we can do? All right, we will take this We'll bounce it, actually make it longer because it's only going to bounce whatever is highlighted. We'll bounce it in place. And now all that reverb from this point on is there. I like that. So what I'll do is I will drag it maybe up to like here. Yeah. I will reverse it and I will bring it back. But I don't want this end part, although that does sound kind of cool. Let me see. So let's make it even. We'll take these little things here and we can fade them up. I don't want it to fade that much, so what do? I take the snap off. Maybe a little more. Put the snap back on. I'm going to I don't need this anymore, so I'm going to delete it. And then we'll say that the song starts here or something like that after 2 bars. Oh, that might help. Something else I just thought of. See, look, this is like endless possibilities on this damn program. So now I'm thinking, okay, maybe I could take each one, bounce it out because I like the build and I want it to just stop completely after it's done. So, and I just heard that in my head right now. So what I want to do is I want to copy, make 4 of them, right? This one will be the last note. This one will be this 3rd note here. Crap. Actually, I have a better idea. You can do it that way, but this is probably the easier way. So we'll just take a blade and we'll just chop them. Okay, give me. And then change that back to bar. So now we have them separated. So what I'll do is I'll bounce them in place one by one. Bounce in place. Bounce in place. Bounce in place. And then bounce in place. And so I don't have all these tracks going on here. I'll just move them all to the same track. And now, this is muted. Obviously you can see the little lines. If you want to unmute it, you just unmute clips. So now it sounds like this. Tell me that's not fire. Okay, Control S. Don't want to mess that up. So that's pretty much it. That's pretty much the basics. If I figure anything else out, I will go ahead and shoot it to you. Actually, I just thought of something. We can join these clips now, just like this. We can do the same for drums. Let's say we're happy with it. We don't want to just have little bits. We can just go ahead and join these clips together. That's a pretty good one. You got the quantize, you got the reverse. Let's see. When you have vocal tracks, you'll also have a different sequence in here that'll show you like pitch correction, and you'll be able to edit pitch if you want to in here as well. So that's possible. Yeah. If I figure anything else out, I will let you know.